All right, we're going over the answers to the worksheet. So, folks, look at the worksheet. Remember, doing the worksheet without checking your answers is stupid. I was trying to think of an analogy, and I decided to just go ahead and call it stupid. Because then you think, oh, I did great. I know I did a great job. But you don't know. And yeah, there are other ways to do it. I'm not saying anything but what I wrote is wrong. I'm saying this is a good way to do it. And if you want to know, hey, I did it this other way, is that okay? Ask. So stop working on the warm-up, please. Look at your worksheet and make sure you did this okay. So this is a method, find longest, which accepts an array list of string objects and returns the longest string. So public static string, this is important. It's not public static void because I said it returns a string. And then here's array list string, and you can call it anything. I happen to call it words. So then I set up a variable called longest, and I get the first item from words, put it in there. And I just did an enhanced for loop. You could do a regular for loop. And if the current word is longer than my longest, then I got a new longest. And then I return longest one I've done. Any questions? Here's number 2. Selection sort. By the way, I'm posting this, so if you can't read all my little writings, it's going to be posted in a minute. But if you take 8245, the first pass gives you 2845, and then you get 2485, and then you get 2458. This is for a selection sort. And I wrote out a little narrative here. I know I have terrible handwriting, but when you're reading it, maybe on the screen, maybe that would be okay. And this is an insertion sort. And interestingly enough, the answer is exactly the same. Just because of the data set. I wish I had given you a different data set, but that number was the number I put, and then I made the worksheet. I printed it, put it into the real world, and by the time I made the key, I realized the answers were the same, and maybe that's okay. Number 4, create an array list of frog objects. That's this line, array list frog. I called it pond. You could call it anything. Equals new array list frog. Pond.add new frog. Pond.get 0.hop 10. That's how you hop the one you just added. You could also have said frog f equals new frog and then add like pond.add f. You could make a frog with a name and then add it, but I didn't say make a frog with a name and then add it. I just said add a frog. So this was simpler than making a frog and then adding that frog, but I'm not, either way, it's fine. Any questions? No questions. Let's go on the back. We got an array list which already contains over 1,000 strings. It's sorted. Write code to delete all the duplicate entries. Because it's sorted, you can just start at the end and go backwards and check if item I is equal to item I minus 1, then delete item I. That works fine. If it wasn't sorted, you'd have to use two for loops to do this. Yes?
So now I'm going to do I minus 1 and change it to I.
I'd have to check before I would tell you. I remembered that I said that. You do have to start at stuff.size minus 1. And if you're going to be doing an I and an I minus 1, then you have to make sure you're greater than 0, not greater than negative 1, and not greater than equal to 0. Because if I ended up being 0, then you would actually try to compare it with an element that doesn't exist. I left little notes about that over here, which you can read later. So a lot of you didn't have the right answers here. So check. I think you probably had it except for the number 4 with the G. But when I said G plus stuff size, you don't just get to ignore stuff that you don't understand. I mean, sure. I mean, that's not a bad approach to a lot of things in life, but I would say the majority of people that I've seen their papers just ignored that plus stuff size thing. And I don't know, I just wanted you to address that issue. Like, does he mean the size after I add it or the size before? But it is the size before because it hasn't been added yet. So the size is 4. And if you do G plus 4, it's going to put G4 as a string. Yes?
So why is G4?
Remember I always give you these problems like, what is printed when it says hello plus 7? You know, it's hello 7. Okay. But if I said 7 plus 8 plus hello, it would do 15 and then hello. So just anytime, anywhere in Java, if you have a string and an integer, it's going to put them together. It's going to just turn the integer into a string and add it. Just put them together. They've just defined that you can add a string and an integer if you put the integer second. If you put the integer first, it's going to say, no. You can't add a string to an integer, but you can add an integer to a string. Last but not least, number 7. Again, I didn't want you to be working off some known size, so I said we got a lot more things added. Write code which swaps the values of the first and last spots. So what I did is I stored the first spot in a variable called temp. So I got item 0, and then I set item 0 to the last item in the array list, which is stuff.size minus 1. You know, if there's 1,000 items, the last item is 999. And I did a get to get that last item, no matter where it was, we know that's the last item. And then I set that last item to temp. So you have to make, if you're going to be swapping two things, most of the time you need a third variable. You know, you need or an extra variable, somewhere to store. Because if I'd done the second line here before I had saved item 0, then item 0 would be gone. So the idea is you kind of set item 0 on the side in this variable temp, then you take the last item, put it in the first, and then you take this temp variable and put it in the last. And you could go the other order. We could have taken the last item and stored it in temp and put the first item in the last, and then, yeah, you get what I'm saying. Questions? Okay, back to here. You can put away the worksheet. You could study that worksheet. If you didn't know how to do parts of it, you could open up the PDF on my website, on the Google Classroom, and you could do some of the problems over again on a piece of paper. Print it out again if you have a printer at home, but even if without a printer, you could look on the screen and go, I'm going to write that method again because I knew I didn't really know how to do that problem. And then compare your answer with your corrected answer that you have. Yes? I'm going to post that in a minute, yeah. So, thank you. Thanks for playing along with that. So looking at our schedule for today, I'm reminding you our next test is Wednesday. We'll be reviewing and practicing until then, which means today and Monday. Right now, we're going to do the Unit 7 free response questions that the College Board gave us. I got them on a worksheet. And then I've got a Google form review and a frog party. It's a good time with the frogs today. Questions? Okay, I think. Oh, and I should tell if anybody's at home listening, you don't get to do the FRQ at home. I'm not allowed to post it online, so we're just doing it in class. And if you're at home, then you need to come to tutorial and try to make this up another time. Awesome. I'm going to turn off the recording.